Thank you all for tuning in wherever you're tuning in from. I've noted that I've got some people listening in Singapore, in China, in Russia, and like a couple random African countries. And thank you. And, if you guys can like give me feedback as to what you're listening to and why, or what you find interesting about this podcast, I would love to hear from you. I know that there's a lot of things going on in Chicago and in America that really are reflective of a lot of things going on around the world. I know, corruption and things like that aren't new to anyone that's lived in our times or, historically. And so we're pretty much just repeating the same cycles, is my opinion on that. But today I did want to thank you guys again for tuning into the podcast wherever the podcast is available, making your way over to my YouTube channel, which is at Nicole Coco Patrice. You can find me on all social media as at Nicole Coco Patrice. That's at NicoleCocoPatrice. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, now known as X. And so I wanted to kind of get away from, I've been doing a little bit of a balance between, the womanisphere and things that are affecting women right now. And then just the corruption in Chicago and the Chicagoland area. And I just feel that there is an opportunity here to really bridge so many, like there's just so many ruptures in our society, and especially within the urban landscape. And it shouldn't be this way, being that as inhabitants and residents of these urban landscapes, we are very much aware of the dangers and the perils that face us day to day. So I'm really concerned as to why we can't agree on certain things. And I'm noticing a disturbing trend of people disagreeing with, you know, things that they would logically and instinctively agree with. But now they're doing it, they disagree because the new instinct and the new reflex is to double down on party allegiance and affiliations rather than, what is the best outcome for you and your family. And if 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 we get to a point where this is now the norm, which is starting to feel like it, um, the end is near. Like, I don't want to sound like, like this dystopian future is just like, a couple months out, but I mean, we're kind of there. Um, we have where, um, let's just say with the United Healthcare um, killer, I noticed immediately a lot of liberal women, a lot of liberals in general, blacks, minorities, you know, the people who would have been out on the streets for Black Lives Matter, the people who would have spoken out against the murder of um, George Floyd. And honestly, the same people I see who are ready to go tear up New York City because Jordan Neely was lynched, according to them, by Daniel Penny, and Penny was acquitted. So, if you're not familiar with the situation, just very briefly, there was a homeless, possibly drug addicted, mentally unstable young man, Jordan Neely. Yes, we can humanize him. Yes, he was a street performer. Yes, he dressed up like Michael Jackson and did street performing. But in between that, he had lots of arrests. He had been assaulting people. He was threatening people on the train that day. And former Marine Daniel Penny uh, intervened with the help of, I believe they said, two Black men who helped hold down Jordan Neely after he was threatening and really telling people he was ready to die and he would kill anybody on the train. And people were really afraid. There was a Black woman who was interviewed on the platform by the police, and there's video camera footage, body cam footage of her saying, she felt threatened, and Daniel Penny came in and helped, and they felt like he did the right thing. There's also evidence that the police got there and arrived on scene and wouldn't give mouth to mouth, just checked for a pulse and gave him sternum rubs. I mean, I don't know that you have to do mouth to mouth for whatever the situation is because I'm not an EMT or paramedic. But it looks like if the man had a pulse and he was alive when the police got there, that's not Daniel Penny's fault. That's the first responders. So Eric Adams even came out and said that he supported Penny, and stated that, at this day and age, we should be applauding and calling these people heroes that stand up in the face of, public harm and, just criminals being able to do whatever they like and terrorize people on the streets that are just trying to go to work, go to school, take their children to school, things like that. So even Eric Adams spoke out and said, and he's a Democrat, even though everyone, now is trying to say he's kissing up to President Trump or the President-elect Trump. But even Eric Adams, I mean, he's a former law enforcement officer, said that this was what you want your members of society to do. And when you convict someone for doing the right thing and being a good citizen for their fellow citizens, you are now giving the advantage to the lawless, constantly giving the advantage to the lawless. And this has been a trend all over the nation for the last 4 years. And so I don't think any of this is a mistake. I know that there's a concerted effort and to ruin urban landscapes. This has been going on with the Democratic Party for some time. I mean, since Reconstruction, blacks have been just on a steady decline. Like there was a moment of hope, and then we had Black Wall Street and things like that. And I know, yes, there was violence that was enacted amongst against our communities that discouraged us from building and maintaining those communities in the way that we had done. But when we integrated back into the main society, we did so in a way for a while that we were building communities and still working together. But now there's just been this sudden change, and it really wasn't subtle. It's sudden, it was gradual, and it was subtle, and a lot of it has been at the hand of Democrats. And so when you see these policies that on one hand is something that you would on paper totally agree with, if you were sitting there all alone with your thoughts and would be able to express them, we would say, yeah, I would want, criminal, illegal aliens out of my neighborhood so that they're not terrorizing not only me and my neighbors and citizens, but residents in the shelters who may also be asylum seekers and immigrants that are afraid, to speak up because of their status and things like that. Why would you want the criminals in the same shelter with the people that are trying to seek refuge from them? Doesn't make sense. Why would you want to punish a man that saved people from being hurt on a train? Doesn't make sense. Why do you want your police to feel like they're unappreciated? Why would you want to cut funding for them in a time where people are more afraid and don't get, responses to those emergency calls in the time that they need them to? It doesn't make sense. Why would you keep letting people out of jail multiple times so they can kill police officers or murder their ex-wives or ex-girlfriends or their children? Doesn't make sense. So I I can't sit here and just pretend that, the US government doesn't have some bedfellows that do not care about the American people. It is very evident. And if you're still caping for the Democratic Party, and no one's saying that Republicans are perfect. I hate the fact that as soon as you mention that you are not 100% aligned with Democrats, that you will not blindly follow them into the abyss, that now you must be MAGA and you must be racist and you must believe that all Republicans are just pure, snow-driven angels. And it's just that is such a basic way of thinking, and the fact that you can't hold more than one thought is very telling. There's been a lot of talk around being educated and being a Democrat going hand in hand, but of course we all know that colleges are, ground zero for lots of indoctrination. And the more you elevate, people who align with the authorities rather than think for themselves, the less room you have for discourse and further expanding our philosophies and ideologies and finding more common ground. Um, I saw Jamila Jamil from she used to be on Legendary with I think she was one of the executive producers, and I follow her on Instagram. And do you know, these women are in her comments tearing her up because she sat down to talk to someone, or she's working with someone who is a Republican, and they literally just are in the comments just tearing her up. And she's trying to explain to them very logically, like, hey, if you can't have a conversation with someone you have opposing ideals with, then you're not mature. Like, you're the problem. It's not them. Um, she's like, yeah, if the Republican can sit down with me knowing very well how loudly defiant I am of so many of their own, you know, closely held beliefs and views, why would I not find the same ability to bridge that gap, you know? Because obviously this person has something uh, that they find in common with me. So why would I not explore that? And they were just in the comments just eating her up. Well, I'm gonna unfollow you right now. She's like, girl, bye, please do. I'm gonna unfollow you right now. And it's like, okay, so you just want to be in your silo. You just want to be in an echo chamber, and that gets you nothing. And that's what college campuses have become. That's what the think tanks have become. That's what government offices has become. That's what your neighborhoods have become. That's what your next door app and you know all your neighbors getting together to talk about what's going on has become because one person doesn't like how you express yourself or whatever your beliefs are, and then they all gang up and block you and kick you off the platform. I've seen that happen to a couple people. Like, this is the neighborhood app and this is the community, and they can't know what's going on in the community because you got offended because you know they didn't agree with something you said. Like, and I see it, and these are the, I mean, these are our gen, you know, these are our boomers, these are our Gen Xers. This is Gen Z too, but I can't blame Gen Z for this because Gen Z watched Gen X and Gen X watched the boomers. And so we're all responsible here. So I'm not going to put all the blame on Gen Z. I'm going to start with where I know where we fucked up. And where we fucked up, excuse my French, is with a lot of the boomers passing down that very you know, this groupthink and this one-sided perspective. There was so much room for people to be different after Reconstruction. Black folk were able to be Republicans. You know, they pretty much got driven out of the Democratic Party because of how, you know, they took over a lot of those seats and in those areas and things like that due to the population and how everything was working out per capita. But ultimately, you know, over the years, we've been begging for a seat at the table. And then when we think we've gotten a seat at the table, it's some black person who just doesn't care. They don't care about our struggles. They don't care about your issues. They don't care about how they're ruining the opportunity for the next black person to come in and work in those positions. They don't care how they've unleashed this DEI backlash. They don't care about, you know, spending our tax dollars and the hard earned dollars that we, you know, we earn, and then taking that and giving it away to illegals. They don't care. And so, you know, they play on your morality, they play on your emotions, they play on your allegiance to the church and your allegiance to the Democrats and your allegiance to blackness. But those things are being conflated in a way that hurts you. You can have allegiance to your blackness and still question your democratic leaders and your churches and anyone else around you. There, there, there's an act of love when you ask questions. There's an act of love when you challenge people to do and be better. That is an act of love when you don't accept what's been accepted before. There was a woman who mentioned that anyone who, and I've seen a lot of this. This is like people's, you know, main go-to argument when they don't have the capacity to think outside of their identity politics. Well, Rahm Emanuel and Daley stole money from us. Well, all these other politicians did all these things to us and they were white. You know, white people had us enslaved. So I mean, so at this point, so should I just let black people just do whatever they want to me? I mean, if you know what I mean? So if white people were doing the most horrific things on earth, right? And black people were so innocent this whole time. So now what we and all of our morality that we've held all these years, suddenly now we are just we just don't know what else to do except follow their lead. Is that what you're saying? So like now you're going to infantilize black people? Like we can't think outside of what white people have shown us? We have no intelligence outside of what we've been dictated? Like I'm not going to fall for that. If you want to sit here and say, "Yes, we've been indoctrinated." That's fine. But then once you know better, you do better. There's too much information out here to keep saying that. And if you're going to get on here and make excuses, right? As soon as someone critiques where we need to improve, and you're going to say, well, the other guy, and he was white, remember, he did worse. So let the black guy just do whatever. That's not going to get us anywhere. That means we're going to always be exactly where we are. Catch up now. If you're going to let the black leaders do exactly what the white leaders were doing, or worse, why are you voting for them? Are you like, is it some kind of sadism? Like, are you sadistic? Do you just like watching your own community, right, suffer? Are you like you? It's crazy. Are you some masochist? Like you're just inflicting this harm on everyone because it just feels good? Because that's the dumbest train of logic I've ever heard, and people just keep spitting that off like they think they sound so smart when they say it, and it's like you don't realize you are the biggest because you're basically saying the white man got to do all that bad stuff, so let the black man do the bad stuff too. No, no, I will not let the black man do the bad stuff too. The black man ran on the platform that he's going to be better than that white man. The black man ran on the platform that he understands what that white man did to me. For him to then turn around, take my money, take my vote, and then embarrass me, and not only that, probably lead me down a path that's even further um you know uh away from where I thought I was going to be or where I was before I voted for you or you took office. I don't think so. So the Tiffany Henyards have got to go. The Brandon Johnsons have got to go. The Kamala Harris's, please never again. Like the Joe Bidens have got to go. Like we can't just keep letting people dictate to us what's acceptable. Like, honestly, you know better. So, if you know it's something that you don't agree with and you know this policy is not working for you, even if you agreed with it on day one and now day 90, you like, you know what? I don't think this is working. That's your right. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what smart people do. That's what a true American is supposed to do. You're supposed to look at where the laws are failing, and then you're supposed to do what you can to make them better and to change them and make sure that it's applied as equitably as possible. But we definitely need to talk more about DEI and how the DEI backlash is something that we've asked for. Because if you look at Reconstruction and what happened after that, you already knew what was coming. But for some reason, I mean, we looked at Obama getting voted in, and then we got Trump. Like, there's always going to be a backlash. If you know anything about physics, if you know anything about philosophy, if you know anything about history, it's a pendulum, and it's going to swing. And the harder you swing it in one direction, the harder it's going to come back the other way. I don't know what we're doing, but the black community needs to wake up, and women, especially, because we are the ones who are isolating ourselves and painting ourselves into a corner that we're going to die in, because ultimately we don't have the protection and we're sending all the protection away. If you hate white people and white people are no good, well, you don't turn around and think any white people are going to stick their neck out for you anymore. If all white women are traitors, don't think white women are going to stick their neck out for you anymore. If all black men are evil and criminals and only care about black, white acceptance and they're all whatever, then don't turn around and ask for black men to do anything anymore. You guys are literally, I saw they were arguing with Mexicans. It was badly built Mexican women now. And just saying some of the most horrific things. And then of course there were some Latinas that were coming out, I guess, and saying some racist things here and there. But I saw the overwhelming majority was from black people. The overwhelming majority of the nastiest things I see online are from black women. So I'm like, I don't want to hear this that, oh, all the MAGA and all the white people are nasty and mean and Trump's so nasty and mean. No, black women, we really need to take a hard look in the mirror and stop acting like we're innocent in all of this. We say some foul things. We are completely off the deep end with this narcissism. We can't be critiqued. We can't be wrong. And as soon as you say anything that hurts our feelings, it's the race card. It's you can't talk about this and that because I'm black or because I'm a woman. You don't understand. And it's just getting so tired. Oh, yeah. Caitlin Clark. The whole idea that y'all got Caitlin Clark going around apologizing for being white, apologizing for being successful in the league. All you're doing is ruining the WNBA. I saw one of the coaches said that, well, if Caitlin Clark's going to be on the cover, you need to put the whole team or the whole league on the cover. No, since when is how it works? If Caitlin Clark came in and got y'all the publicity that y'all had been waiting on, why hate on Caitlyn? Why keep pushing Caitlyn to a point where she has to erase who she is just to be accepted? Are y'all not seeing where this is a problem? And this is exactly why DEI is ruining the country. Because now you're going to have someone who is a great player diminish herself to make the black women feel better about themselves, when at the end of the day they should just make themselves feel better. You know you built that league, so then take your crown. You don't go begging somebody else to give it to you. So go do your campaigns, start your own magazine. I don't know what to tell y'all, but making the white woman feel bad for coming into your space because she earned it is insane. It's insane. So, white people are calling it out. I feel bad for Caitlyn at this point because, yeah, I mean, it was a lot of bullshit going on with that and Angel Reese. But at the end of the day, y'all do not need to beat this woman up or push her further into the corner when she's really just trying to be accepted. And it's just crazy the stuff that people I see people come out and still say. It's like, so it wasn't good enough. When will it ever be good enough? But yeah, I was like, that is crazy. Asking for the whole league or the whole team to be on the cover to take away her shine is just so it's just so emblematic of what is wrong with the black community. And it starts, I'm gonna die on this hill. It starts with black women because we give birth to our children. We pick our partners. We're the responsible for who gets passed down in the lineage, and we're doing a horrible shit job of it. And then we don't want to take responsibility. Y'all were sitting on the skyscrapers watching in the AI post because you mad at people voting for Trump. Meanwhile, your children are out there tearing up and burning down the streets. If I hear one more black person talk about white on white crime compared to black on black crime when per capita, same thing with welfare per capita. You guys, like, please stop getting out here and letting your pride and your ego and your hurt feelings and your insecurity have you out here running off at the mouth and alienating your allies, the only allies you may have right now. If you don't see right now, black people have more white allies than they have ever had in the history of America. I don't know what to tell you. You are blind, and we had more before Obama, but Obama made sure he came in and he ruined that. And so we've come full circle, I feel like, at this point in seeing how Trump got reelected. And this is our chance to really put on the table what we want as a community and what we need as a community and stick together. We don't have to agree on everything. Everything doesn't have to play in our favor, and we don't have to get everything from every politician right up front, but you do have to have, like, some basic principles that you will not stray from, and then that we can agree on a few of those and then ask for that. And then all the little minutia we can hash out here and there, because that's what government is. That's what the law is. It's like it's an organism, and it's constantly evolving. And I hate that people really think that, once something's written in the law, it's supposed to always be that way. That's not how it is. It's supposed to evolve because we're evolving. Would you really want to try to put on a shoe that never stretches? Your foot's growing and you're going to keep forcing your foot into that shoe. That's exactly what y'all are trying to do. Black people are trying to live their lives in a very narrow lens of, Obama Black Lives Matter, when there's a whole American life out here, and most people are not worried about our race. We really need to get up off of this. We really need to focus on the opportunities we have in front of us and stop making everything about alienating people who don't look like us. Because I'm telling you, in the real world, I don't know what y'all be doing, but in the real world, most of these people do not care about race, and they're not about to come approach you on some racist stuff. It's just not happening. I'm in school right now, and I sit in these classrooms, and you guys want to talk about DI. I sit in these classrooms, I'm looking at these kids that don't want to speak up. They're afraid to say simple things. Teacher asks a question, and they're like looking at a loaf of bread, and they're like, "What's this?" And no one, it was like 2 whole minutes silence because nobody wants to speak up because they're scared to say that the damn loaf of bread is a loaf of bread. And so if you can imagine, when you're talking about social issues, when you're in certain classes where you're talking about philosophy or research questions or certain things that may come out and sound a little controversial, of course, because you're in an environment where you're supposed to challenge each other to think. But they can't do that because all the DEI and all the backlash has gotten them to the point they're frozen in fear. And then you put these Black people in these positions that are so arrogant and can't even listen to anybody without spewing out a bunch of racism and tropes about how they're so oppressed and infantilizing the entire Black community, while at the same time demanding that we be treated with the utmost respect. You can't do both. So either Black people are so feeble and so childlike that they cannot make it and cut it on their own, or you guys need all the help and all the handouts, and if without them we will never make it. So you got to pick one. I'm sorry, but you got to pick one. Yes, there's been some things that have gone on historically that have kept us down and that we need to build on and fix and bridge. But you're not going to do it if you're going to keep calling white people racist. How you think the Underground Railroad road worked? Do you think the Underground Railroad worked without white people? Do you think Reconstruction was possible without white people? Do you think the Civil War was fought without the white people on the side of the Union? I mean, like you can't just sit here and pretend that like all white people were racist and still are. It just doesn't make sense. So if once we start like get out of the emotions and start thinking logically and start treating people with respect to who they are and their beliefs and what we have in common, not what they look like, what party they're affiliated with, and all these other labels, because that's just childish. We're childish, and we're uneducated, honestly. And going to college doesn't make you educated because, like I said, you got people in college that don't know how to think, don't know how to speak up. They're afraid to speak out because we've put everybody on their heels, and everyone's walking on nails, and it's just not the way that we should live. So I say all that to say, we've got to do better. And I want to get into a lot more personal things and a lot more of my personal experiences with some of these issues. But I don't want to do most of that uh, on this YouTube platform. So I will be linking some of my Patreon and my own website so that you can watch more private content there, and then just some of the more intimate things that I want to get into and talk about. But I just want to get on here and say that really quickly, that we've got a long way to go. But there's a lot of cognitive dissonance, and I just need Black women to stop being at the forefront of um, working against our own interests. Because honestly, Black women are really trying to win the award for who is promoting white supremacy the most. Because if we're going to keep criticizing Black men publicly, if we're going to keep voting against our own interests and alienating ourselves and then not having the protection, because I don't know what military Black women have, but we're out here talking big stuff like we got one and we don't. A lot of y'all can't even make it a half mile around, around your neighborhood. Okay. So I'm really trying to figure this out. So let's just really take a deep breath collectively and try to bridge these gaps, work together, and stop being so emotional, because we're just not going to win this way. There's laws and government and things that are at play, and none of that can be tackled with pure emotion. You can use that emotion to drive you, but you can't use it to make logical decisions or review information, because you're just going to look for something that reinforces your biases, and we've done enough of that. We can't afford to live in with our heads buried in the sand. It's just so much at stake. And like I said, Black women, we're going to ultimately pay the biggest price for all of this, because honestly, we don't have the infrastructure. And we don't have the seat at the table that we think we have to be able to move the way we're moving. So let's just be wiser about it. So again, thank you for watching, liking, sharing, subscribing. Please make sure, if you haven't, please do subscribe and hit that bell so you can have notifications. And then go to my website, www.cocopatrice.com. That's COCOPATRICE.com. I am doing Spanish and English lessons there, and I also offer some other merchandise and services. So please check out my website, sign up for the mailing list, and I will talk to you all soon. And also look out for the Patreon link. All right.